Welcome to the Lighthouse presentation of The Valley, a scripted case study of the Johnson Equipment Company owners and their families, employees and their families, friends, and associates. The co-hosts and their special guests will identify and encourage the participants to take the path to peace in the valley. This weekly broadcast is dedicated to sharing insights from God's Word to meet people's needs through the living Christ. It is a half-hour, powerful, and engaging broadcast geared to the lowest depths of indention or chasm in one's life, surrounded by rough terrain of depression, worry, anxiety, and the stresses of life when one's faith is weakened. In the valley, we learn about the nature of God, His presence in our pain, His love in our loss, and His patience despite our complaints. Through hardship, He may strip us of pride, renew our passion for Him, refine our character, and or purify our motives. No one can completely escape all suffering in life, but at Lighthouse, we can face difficulties with confidence. If you are in a valley right now, I pray that you will remember that God is your faithful shepherd who can lead you to find peace in the valley. He will guide you through heartache and show you how to overcome in His strength. Look to Him for peace and hope despite your circumstances. If you are willing to talk with Him through the valley, you will experience God's highest blessing on the next mountaintop. And now, here is The Valley.
Good morning. I'd just like to say, first of all, my name is Larry Rowland. I am the host of your program for today, and along with me is Brother Lewis McAllister, which is our co-host, and Minister Bobby McAllister, amen, which is our guest today. And just like I say, we're going to be talking about the valley today. And on the valley, the different aspects of the things that we go through, the things that happen in our life, the things that we encounter in our life. So many times we go through different things that can kind of just get our life off track, or sometimes we just wonder, God, where are you? So in the valley, you know, a lot of times we just go through some stuff. But today we're going to be discussing Johnson Equipment Company. And in Johnson Equipment Company, there are going to be some different ones that we're going to focus on, and some of the stuff that they went through and some of the stuff that happened to them. So first, Thomas White. You know, he worked for Johnson for 10 years, and within the whole period, his performance was supervised by 9 managers who supplied thorough reports to the authorities. The problem was that though Thomas performed successfully, increased the total sales and got regular pay raises, there were problems concerning the lack of organization, his inability to re-encourage the use of all possibilities of errors and questions. No manager could help Thomas White to get rid of those drawbacks. You know, sometimes we have things that pop up in our life. Sometimes, you know, we, in our own personal life, you know, we focus on things that just sometimes come in and overwhelm us, and we just don't know where to turn. And I don't know why they say sometimes men, we have a problem with asking people for help. Yes. We just kind of want to fix it and do it ourselves. But we're going to get into this and find out that Thomas had some issues. You know, I know we all face things in our life, and, you know, things that can come and things can kind of get us, you know, we just don't know what direction we ought to go in. But since Thomas seemed to be, to me, for having a lack organization of transitional leadership style. His opinion about being a leader is that the one who is successful should be able to exert power. Thomas was a transitional leader, is provided with the power for practical task performance as well as reward and punishment of his subordinates. You know, I just thank God that, you know, God gives us the patience. Because sometimes we're just dealing with people, you know, it can be difficult, especially when you either over some people or you under somebody. I don't know, you have any comments that, you know, sometimes, you know, just dealing with supervisors or people that...
Yeah, Larry, I got one like a taskmaster, and you know, like standing over people with a whip and trying to make them fearful of him and stuff like that.
All right.
And on the power situation, he I guess he would be he want people to fear him. That's basically, and he want to be in control.
All right.
And how do you see it?
Yeah, I see what you're talking about there, but I was, let's go back, you know, I would go back to the, you know, he had worked at this job for 10 years and had 9 managers. 9 managers. You know, that's a lot to deal with by itself. Maybe that had something to do with his leadership, you know, qualities, because he had to deal with 9 managers. That's a lot of managers to deal with in 10 years. I mean, he didn't have one manager, but only, what, 2 years?
Right.
So he had a lot to deal with, you know, it's hard to learn, you know, what your managers want when you constantly changing like that. That's a question to me. Why did they have so many managers, you know, in just a 10-year period?
And two, I wonder if they ever told him what his faults was.
Yeah. I'm like you. I have dealt with some managers before on certain jobs that, you know, each one of them wants something different. It's hard to please them. You know, it's hard to please them. Like, you know, you doing your job, but you know, sometimes that's not enough.
Right. You know, it brings to my mind that, you know, you brought back to attention that he had 9 managers. That's 9 different personalities you got to deal with.
Yeah.
And everybody's not the same. You know, we were kind of having a discussion before we got started this morning, is that everybody has things that the way they see it, how they look at it. You know, even whether it's in the workplace, in our home, you know, wherever, you know, we look at things in a different way. And he had his way, Thomas had his way, but then at the same time, he had 9, as you say, dealing with 9 different people, you know, and trying to please them, trying to go their way. And it's a job in itself just to try to deal with one person, you know, trying to make sure things go well in regards to one person.
Yeah.
You know, how their leadership style. But when you're trying to come in there and do all the work and, you know, make sure everything is done right, then it has an aspect that, well, you know, you're not sure. And then you sometimes in that you doubt yourself. You know, that's gonna cause you to doubt. You know, am I really able to do? And then sometimes other people sitting back looking. Because I know I have managers and I have supervisors, and sometimes I'll sit back and I'll look and I'll have my perspective and say, well, I've done it this way or I've done it that way. But we have to give, you know, credit for the people that, you know, have been put in that position, and ours is to try to help. You know, not to criticize, but to try to be helpful. Sometimes that situation doesn't always work out that way. It says, Thomas considered that leadership is about the dominant action the person takes with his employees. For him, it is everything about appropriate punishment and reward. He insists on making the job and the task of employees complicated, challenged by assigning them exact amount of those with defined instructions, and they just ensure that his subordinate possesses an adequate resource base for task fulfillment. Have you ever run across anybody that, you know, on the job that you've been on, and the task wasn't that difficult, but they made it difficult?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, I've worked on my job now. You know, sometimes the work that we have to do is not really complicated, But sometimes the people make it complicated. And I don't know, maybe y'all have been in a situation or some circumstance where somebody made, the job more complicated than what it really was. I don't know if you want to share it. Sure.
I will let not a person that one when I come at the end.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Yes, I have had some experiences like that where, the manager wants you to do it this way, but if I did it this way, had to do it, I would do it a totally different way. And really, to me, I think my way would be the best way. I mean, that's just me. But I think my way would be the best way. But still you have to learn how to blend in and work with that manager because he still is over you.
Right.
So, they give the managers too much power, and to me it seems like they should have a go between. Well, sometimes the manager has some problems at home, and he want to take it out on the employees. So I feel like they should have kind of a mediator in between there, maybe go to personnel or something before he administers punishment on the people. And,
as you say, and this is something that we all have our views and our personal opinions on it, but if you've been in the workplace and any length of time, then we all run across situations that wasn't fair, that wasn't right, that wasn't just, and we can all say that, if it was me, I'd have done it this way, because I've said it so many times on my job. And knowing too that, it is a responsibility on trying to, doing the work for the company, the employee, the people that's under you, the people that's over you, and dealing with all that. And I'm like Brother Lewis, on my particular job, I looked at situations and I've always figured that should be somewhere where either a person in between, a go-between, or either they started out one while they had meetings, they would have like team meetings, and you could discuss stuff because, like you say, there's times when people are having personal problems and those kind of spill over into the work situation. But getting back to our discussion this morning about Thomas, and Thomas, he said that, he would put the task, somebody asked me on my job one time, the length of time I've been now over 15 years, and people would ask me, well, how come I never would want to be a supervisor? And I said because I was, someone was having a meeting, and somebody said, well, and they was a higher up, and they said their belief was to talk rough and make it hard on the people in order to get people to do the work. And that wasn't my philosophy. That wasn't my thing. And I said, well, if that's what it's going to take to be a supervisor, then I just wouldn't rather, be a supervisor. I'd rather just continue to just do the work that I was doing. But that was one of Thomas's beliefs, that he had to make the task hard in order to get the work done, to make sure everything was done right. But it says here that his subordinates possessing an adequate resource base for task fulfillment is how transcendental leaders act. He leads the group of people by setting particular goals to it to accomplish, and then possesses enough power for evaluation, correction, and training of employees when the expected goals are not reached, rewarding them in the opposite case. Sometimes people give you a task to do and more or less know that the task, you can't fulfill the task. I know we have deadlines sometime on our job, and our team leader or our supervisor, they kind of get stressful in it, but then at the same time, their people that's over them will come and say, we have a deadline to get this done at a certain time, and they'll say, okay, we'll do it. But then I notice that we'll come together and start doing the work. But then when their supervisor or the person over them leave, then they'll slack up and go talk or sit around, and then they'll look to us and tell us that we got to get the stuff done. We got to get it out. So, and that causes frustrations, with other people, other workers. He said Thomas can be called to some extent as servant leader as well, as this kind of leader facilitates objective accomplishments by providing the team with all necessary resources so it can be productive. As a task-oriented leader, Thomas would focus on the specific tasks and job that should be done assigned to each employee to reach some goal. Have you ever been on your job and did they give you whatever work that you were doing? Did they ever give you everything that you needed to get the job done?
Okay. I worked for a certain company for 9 years, I believe. And out of that 9 years, I got hurt 3 times. And well, I guess I started out on the floor about a year, and then I went into driving a truck for them. And eventually, I was a lead man for 5 years. As long as all I had to do was mark up orders and stuff like that, and I had plenty of help. But eventually, I worked hard for that company. I kept down to merge. I made sure they didn't have excess overtime, and they kind of disappointed me when I got hurt and I couldn't go anymore. They like whenever they fire somebody or let somebody go, they wouldn't replace them. So they threw more work on me. And then eventually I had to get out there and work. And I couldn't. And when it came down to it, they let me go. They said that I wasn't able to do the work anymore because of my injury. I guess it kind of put a hardship on me when they let me go, and it made me angry because they had, I was just marking up orders. They just said they didn't have any light duty anymore, and I was, all I had to do was mark up orders and things like that, make sure the truck get loaded. But eventually they just stopped hiring people to do the work and throw more work on me, and it hurt me when they did that.
I was in the same position as Lewis. I worked for this company for so many years, and you get caught up. You're thinking like, you're set. You depend on them, and you work every day. You at work on time every day, and then you get hurt. And I've been there, but I had to suffer with that for about a year and a half, But I was set up on this type of job where, your performance, you got paid by your performance. The more you, could do, the more you got paid. It was sort of like overtime in a way, but the quicker you get it off, the more money you make.
Right.
So it was set up that way. But at the same time, I got hurt on the job, and and then you see the true colors of your managers and supervisors. So it's sort of like you have some kind of disease on you because everybody sort of move back away from you, don't want to talk to you, and I guess maybe they scared of their jobs, whatnot. But I went through that just like Lewis did, and they ended up terminating me as well. They could find work for me, which only they could, but not. They wanted to put me inside, and I'm not an inside man. I'm a man that I'm more productive outside. you know, being outside. So, but at the same time, this company, you know, they let me go, and so many words, let me go. So at the same time, just like hardship, Louis said hardship, yeah, you know, you take a big hit because your money drops. It drops. So you go from, just say, $1,000 a week, $1,000 a week to $460 something a week. That's a lot. That's a big drop. So your bills and everything go. You know, you have to pick and choose what you're gonna, you know, pay.
Right.
So you know, I mean, those things just happen. But you know, my belief in God, you know, my faith in God, I know He was gonna get me through all that, and which He did. He got me through it. So He put you in the right places. You know, He give you what you need at the right time. But,